one of the things I really wanted to do with Dawkins that I don't think I did that successfully was to congratulate him on the depth of the realization of the importance of the mean. And I mean, you'd expect that if a discovery of that sort is significant, that it wouldn't be unique, that there'd be echoes of that idea elsewhere. And there are definitely echoes of the meme idea in the idea of archetype.
Yeah.
But the thing, it's so radical, that idea, and he's right on the verge of grasping it, because once you can produce an idea that lives in abstraction, which is the right way of thinking about it, that it lives, then those ideas can compete and they can undergo life and death. And so what you have is an abstract substitution of life and death and the testing that goes along with that for actual death. This is the thing I really believe. This might be key to the idea of the word theologically, is this is the thing that makes humans so absolutely distinct. This is also why the Malthusian types are completely wrong, right? Because the Malthusian types, with their zero-sum game biology, they think the right biological model for a human being is like mold in a Petri dish. So the Petri dish it's got agar in it, let's say, one form of food, a finite supply, the mold being relatively mindless, devours all the food, and then it expires because there's a finite resource. And that analogy does hold in various animal populations, maybe in all animal populations except the human. But the thing about human beings is, well, we can substitute a different food. And we can substitute a different approach to the resource management problem, and we can transform the nature of our being without dying.
Yeah.
And that makes us an entirely different kind of creature. That Malthusian law, there's no evidence that Malthusian law applies except when societies degenerate. So.
And also, I mean, this is something I wanted to run by you after that discussion I was thinking of. And, one of the things that I'm adamant about is the idea that different beings that we recognize as having coherence, exist at different levels. This is the kind of a subsidiary vision of reality, that you have cells in you that have a certain coherence, and you have systems in you that have certain coherences, and though you have that also in your thinking, those systems join together to make Jordan Peterson or to make me, but that also continues up, and that some of the meme level structures, they're actually there to preserve what I could call higher order beings, right? And so, for example, if you take a certain practice, which would be incarceration, for example, in our culture, right? So that incarceration is actually done in order to preserve the coherence of the social body.
The body politic.
That's the reason why it's done. But there is an analogy between that all the way down to the meme, because if you incarcerate someone, you obviously reduce their capacity to reproduce. And therefore while you are trying to maintain the higher order being, you're also participating in the maintaining of, the coherence. Also, if you put people who kill people in prison, then less people die at the individual level.
That's actually one of the explanations for the relative domesticity and tranquility of modern society, is all the hyper-aggressive men were killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we tamed ourselves. Right, well, and when Dawkins and I came together near the end, talking about the Baldwin effect, we were really referring to something very much like that. It's like you establish a story that transforms the social landscape. Imagine now it transforms the hierarchical arrangement of the people within the social landscape, right? So that once a story is accepted, the people who are better at acting it out get more social status. While men who accrue more social status are radically different in their reproductive capacity. Now, it's the case for women too, because the children of high status women are more likely to live, but high status men are likely to have way more offspring, and it's way more. And so once a story dominates, it can shift the social hierarchy. That transforms the reproductive landscape. Then you start selecting people for their affinity to the story.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's the Baldwin effect, and that's a really good. Well, that's the one thing that we discussed that Dawkins got really excited about, and it was unfortunate that it was relatively near the end of the discussion.